George Washington, born on February 22, 1732, in Westmoreland County, Virginia, came from a well-established colonial family. His early years were shaped by a strong sense of discipline and landownership, traits common among Virginia's elite. Raised on family estates and taught at home, Washington began working as a land surveyor in his teens, venturing into the vast and wild territories of the colony. At just 20 years old, following the deaths of his older half-brother and niece, Washington inherited the family estate, Mount Vernon. This inheritance came with considerable wealth and a large number of enslaved workers, as was tragically common in the era. Washington's military journey began in the early 1750s when he joined the Virginia militia during rising tensions between France and Britain. Sent to confront French encroachment, Washington found himself at the heart of the French and Indian War. Though he led several campaigns with determination, he was ultimately denied a position in the British Regular Army, a rejection that stung deeply. In 1758, he left military service and returned home. Within a year, he married Martha Custis, a wealthy widow whose assets greatly expanded his influence and estate. As a member of the Virginia House of Burgesses, Washington began to voice concerns about British taxation and the erosion of colonial self-governance, though he was more reserved than fiery revolutionaries like Patrick Henry or Samuel Adams. By 1775, with revolution brewing, Washington was chosen as a delegate to the Continental Congress. Soon after, he was appointed commander-in-chief of the Continental Army. Though the early years of the war were marked by setbacks, including losses in New York, Washington proved to be a resilient and adaptive leader. On December 25, 1776, Washington launched a surprise attack by crossing the icy Delaware River, leading to key victories in Trenton and Princeton. These bold maneuvers reinvigorated the Patriot cause. However, the war continued to test the endurance of the army, especially during the harsh winter at Valley Forge. Despite more losses than wins on the battlefield, Washington's leadership was steady. His greatest victory came in 1781 when British forces surrendered at Yorktown, effectively ending the Revolutionary War. 2 years later, he gave up his command and returned to Mount Vernon, a gesture that stunned monarchies worldwide. But Washington's public service wasn't over. He was called upon again in 1787 to help shape the U.S. Constitution and, in 1789, was unanimously elected as the first president of the United States. Serving 2 terms, he set enduring precedents, especially the peaceful transfer of power. Washington chose not to seek a 3rd term, believing that a true republic depended on leaders knowing when to step aside. On December 14, 1799, he died at Mount Vernon. In his will, he ordered the emancipation of the enslaved people he owned, an extraordinary, if